Hello, everyone. I'm Adam with D&D Beyond. Thank you for joining me for this week's development update and community Q&A session. We're going to dive right in. Lots to cover today, and I'm going to try my best, as I always say, to answer all of the questions. I'm going to fail, but it's going to be spectacular in the attempt to get to them all. Today's lineup, latest updates. We are going to have another data update today as well. We took a look at feats across the board in a few different ways a couple of years ago, and so we're going to do an update here today. There was some moving and shaking and some differences in the meta of the game out there, and so we're going to talk about feats and distribution and all of that again today. Provide an update, everything that's upcoming, and then the aforementioned question and answer period will happen at the very end. So, latest updates, the Blood Hunter revisions that Mr. Matthew Mercer has put into place, previously available as a charity bundle. That period has ended. It is available as of now on D&D Beyond. The old version has been archived. So if you have existing characters who are blood hunters, those are going to continue to operate as normal, no changes, unless you remove that class from those characters and then re-add the new class. But if you make a brand new character or multi-class into Blood Hunter at this point in time, you're going to get the new version that is available in the DM's Guild, and again available now on D&D Beyond. One Grung Above is also available as of this week on D&D Beyond, and this has been asked for a long time. We've been back and forth, just asking Wizards if we could get this content. To be honest, I think this one just hopped through the cracks, kind of like a little toad might hop through the cracks of some cobbles. Yeah, I tried too hard on that one, but One Grung Above is available now, and all the proceeds are donated to Extra Life. So check it out. This is always very popular when a new race becomes available. So if you want to play a anthropomorphic poison dart frog, this is your chance to do so with One Grung Above. Work in progress, the combat tracker. It is on the road to alpha. We're getting closer. So moving on, D&D player mobile app. So this is the character sheet that we have been talking about for a long time. We've very transparently shared some of the challenges that we've seen just as a development studio trying to pull this off in the proper ways. We are getting very, very close. The internal alpha has started, so this is available now on our phones here within our offices, and we're starting to test it out to make sure that it is ready for the subscriber alpha that is to come. So again, I'm not going to give dates here today, but it means that we are getting very, very close if we're starting to use this and install this on our own phones here in the office. So we'll have more on that before too much longer. UA class feature variance is a priority for us. There's just a lot of complexity here. And I want to be very clear. The complexity is not so much in just making sure that we apply a band-aid that would make your character work in the meantime here. It is far more, long-term reaching. Got my tang tungled there. But it is far reaching, the decisions that we're trying to make, where we don't completely paint ourselves into a corner for the eventuality of whether, if this content becomes real, we don't want there to be data problems and inconveniences on the side of our fan base and the community out there. So we're trying to do this the best that we can in the most right way that we can do it at this point in time. So I hope to have more news to share on that before too much longer. I'm going to skip down to Apple authentication. This is coming, and this will coincide very likely with our mobile app being available in the Apple stores. And then finally, dice rolling, the road to alpha. I actually have, let's see if I can find it here. I actually have a little bit of a demo that I'm going to show with dice at this point in time. So this is on a test site. So just, maybe ignore anything that is, maybe ugly right now, because most of the things that we make are pretty, but there might be a thing or two that are ugly on this one, because we're in pre-alpha stage with dice. But you'll be able to enable dice from your context menu on the character portrait. Once dice are enabled, you will see that these boxes will appear in the various places where you are able to roll digital dice. So the DM says, roll initiative, and there's chaos for a moment. But you can roll your initiative here, and the dice will roll, and you'll have that roll recorded here. And then if we are wanting to take action, and I'm going to use a vicious net. This is my favorite. We're going to attack with a vicious net. So we're going to roll that. I rolled a 3, which is not very good at all. I probably missed with my vicious net there. But also, this is the fun thing. So with spells, let's go down here and find a fireball somewhere. Oh, here we go. Fireball. This is going to feel great. Fireball. Bam. Ooh, that die like almost landed on the other, but it flipped off. Do you see that? And so on the damage, you can kind of hover here. You probably can't see that very well on the screen, but you can hover here on a tooltip and it'll tell you what each die rolled there. But I'm going to just do a fireball again because I like saying fireball. And so we're going to roll our fireball. Let's see how high I can get with a fireball. 23, that's pitiful. Come on, fireball. 30. All right, I'm going to go with the 30. That's better. I think it's at least above average. I don't do math in my head. Fireball. Come on, I can get higher than 30. I know it. Fireball. Oh my goodness, this is going to take forever. 30 seems to be it. Also, if you want to roll freestyle dice, there's also going to be a FAB, which is one of my favorite words, stands for floating action button, but you will have a FAB. And on the FAB here, you can click that up and you'll see that you have the different dice represented. So we're going to just do something crazy. I'm going to just keep clicking. Oh, we see something in the pre-alpha that's maybe not quite cleaned up yet. You see the tooltip that says D20 is over where I'm clicking on how many dice I want, but I am about to roll 50 D20. Roll it. Yes. What did that get? 548. That's what I'm talking about. 548. So it's almost like, that can be, I'm just going to keep clicking here to get as many as we can. And so on this one, we're going to say, it's not a fireball. It's going to be nuclear explosion. Go beyond plus ultra. 314. Got it. All right. So dice are far too much fun. And I believe that everyone is going to have a blasty blast once this comes out and is available. I think there's a meteor swarm right here. We did it, 72 points of damage. Plus ultra. So yes, dice are so close, I can taste it, and I cannot wait for everyone to be able to get their digital hands on these dice. And there are many, many surprises that we're going to end up encountering with dice as well. And trust me, you're going to love them as we're able to talk more and more about that in the future. All right. What's next? Data. Let's take a look at the data. Feats Revisited. So we're going back in a time machine. Look at how ugly our slides were back then. They're just hideous. No, they're actually okay. But this was back in 2018. All right. 2018 AD, or it's like ADE, I think they say these days. But back then, you can see that characters with feats by level, so clearly in the level 1 to 3 range here, 4% of characters had feats. And that is purely variant humans, since they're the only ones that were able to have them. Okay. But with these variant humans, you see that 4% is a pretty good bit of total characters out there. So there are a lot of human characters. All right. So I do want to, make sure that that part's clear. But then as we get into level 4 through 7, as people are starting to get their ability score increases, of course, they want those ability scores to be as high as possible. They want to be as charismatic as somebody like Briv Steelmarrow, who can just talk anyone into anything. And if they don't do it, he kills them. But essentially, 34% is all that we're taking feats. That's actually a little bit higher than I thought it would be, because if you go online and you start reading all the guides out there for optimizing your character, most of the time they're going to tell you that statistically, you are going to want to be sure that you get your ability score maxed out at 20 before you start messing around with feats. And so for most classes anyway, and most types of builds that you would do. But what this illustrates to me is that all of you out there playing, don't pay any attention to those optimization guides, and you are in it to have a good time at the table. And that's what we want. Nothing but a good time. All right. And so that's what's happening here. So this was back in 2018. And we see that currently we actually have a little bit of shifting going on, just a little bit, in the higher levels. So 2018, we say that, levels 8 through 11, 49%, 58, 57. Then we go to now, and we're seeing that, it could be that D&D Beyond now has been around for, we're in our 3rd year. We haven't completed a 3rd year here, but it could be that characters are just flat out leveling up a little bit. And so we start to see a little bit more of, the feats being taken here. Perhaps people that are theory crafting. Again, we're pulling this down to active characters the best that we know how to. But, if people are theory crafting and they go around adjusting their hit points and taking rests, then there's not a lot that we can do to parse that part out. So this is what we're looking at, characters with feats by level. So then going back in time 2 whole years, this is like an excellent journey. All right, 2018, you see that Warcaster leads the pack pretty strongly here, that Warcaster is the most chosen feat. Now, this is not by class. We're going to look at that in a second, but this is just all the way over. This is what's going on with the top feats 2 years ago. Warcaster, tough, lucky, sharpshooter, observant. Great weapon masters all the way down, about middle of the pack, actually. Sentinel, mobile, all those middle of the pack. So then we'll go to current. Warcaster is still strongly in the lead. Tough is their sharpshooter, has moved up a bit. Observant, lucky, alert. Great weapon masters moved up just a little bit, as has Sentinel. But for the most part, you're going to see one of the surprises here is Elven Accuracy. So that one came much later than a lot of the other feats. And so it's just newer. Less people have access to it because less people own Xanathar's Guide to Everything within D&D Beyond. But Elven Accuracy is just that good and that popular. So it's making an appearance here for top feats. So 2 years ago, watch your eyes. Sorry about your eyes. But 2 years ago, this is what we were looking at. And then now this is what we have. So then watch your eyes one more time. So we're going from dark to light. So I'm sorry, just blink and you'll be okay. All right. So 2 years ago, zoom, 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 going back into time, like the Doctor. All right. So the Doctor is here to tell you that barbarians, great weapon master, tough, dual wielder, all of these we went through 2 years ago made a lot of sense, I think, at the time. There weren't any huge surprises here. But when you go to current, we're definitely seeing some moving and shaking here. So, one of the things that is fascinating to me is Sentinel has now emerged into the Barbarians toolkit more prominently. And then with Bard, you see barely any change. You see on Cleric that tough is taken so much, folks, because again, watch your eyes. We go back here, you see that tough is the second most taken feat in out of all feats across all characters. So the cleric here is definitely taking tough, and you see that emerge into their top three. And then Druid Warcaster continued to increase quite a bit, even from the last time that we looked at this. Fighter. So Sharpshooter was not in the top three for fighters when we looked at this 2 years ago, but now it is the most chosen feat by fighters. And I think that this is incredible. And so it means that maybe people are finally realizing that the best archer that you can build in fifth edition is a fighter. Sorry about that. Anyone who thinks that rangers are better or thinks that that weird bard build is better or any of those kind of things. Fighters are keen when it comes to archery. And so sharpshooter, that's my opinion, by the way. Please do not report to customer service that D&D Beyond is taking an official stance that the fighter is the best archer class. That is just the expert opinion of one bad eye Adam here. All right, so sharpshooter taken a whole lot for fighters. And so you see that really increased here. Tough, again, great weapon master. Sharpshooter and great weapon master, whether you are melee focused or ranged focus, are obviously strong choices for fighters. Tough, again, for the monk emerging in the top three. Again, you see this same thing happening with paladin. So tough is a feat that lots of people are choosing. You also see that for the paladin, great weapon master has emerged, and sentinel has. So paladin last time had warcaster, heavy armor master, polearm master were the most chosen feats, and they have completely changed their top three. I'm going to say that this might be just inspired potentially by certain half orc paladins out there that have magical metal inside their bones. Because this is the kind of style that Briv Stillmare. So no, actually not. But either way, paladins out there are definitely starting to play different ways. At least across the population sample of the millions of characters that we have in D&D Beyond. Rangers have stayed about the same with all of their feats, so no major surprises there. Alert has now become the top for rogues, and then with sorcerers, nothing particularly changing there for sorcerers. I mean, it looks like warcaster and smell sniper. What would that be like? Smell sniper, spell sniper. Those look like they're almost across the community. They're definitely kind of defaults for the sorcerer. And then we have a whole bunch of feats, which lucky is the highest of these that are very, very low percentages. Warlock, warcaster, spell sniper, all of a sudden actor making its way here. So actor, as you might have guessed with the bard, but also the warlock, does give you the half ability score increase with your charisma. So makes sense that could be a choice here. Warcaster, keen mind, and then spell sniper has emerged for wizards as well. So for instance, with sorcerer, I'm very surprised maybe that what is it called? The feat, elemental attunement. Is that what it's called? It's the feat that allows you to overcome damage resistance of a particular element type. It seems like that would be much higher for sorcerers and be in the top three, but it's not here. So again, lots of changes that we're seeing. And we do not, in Dungeons and Dragons, I do not want people to even think that we have a meta out there like you would talk about in terms of video games like League of Legends or World of Warcraft or anything like that. But it is really interesting to take a look and see the differences between these 2 years and what that means for the feat selection, and what that means for people learning how to play classes possibly more efficiently, or hopefully uh, for more enjoyment at the table, because that's what all of this is about. So hopefully this was interesting to you to see where it was 2 years ago, where we are today. We got a lot of questions about this, so we wanted to provide the new data and give you the update on where we are with all this. Upcoming, we've got AL support, inventory enhancements. We've got a site-wide survey coming soon. All of these things are things that we're eyeballing, as we've got a lot of big rocks that we're currently chipping away at with dice and with combat tracking and with a major overhaul of how our character service works. That's eventually going to mean things like being able to develop features for it faster, address a lot of the rules gaps that we have out there today, do things like inventory enhancements, and then also just make sure that the site doesn't go down as we continue to grow at a rapid pace. And so big rocks that we're chipping away at right now, these are potential next targets that we're going to be starting to get into. And then, yes, we are going to have Dev Update, a community musical, on March 5th. So mark your calendars for that. It is going to be a wild time, I guarantee.